Howdy folks, Jambareeqi here, and yesterday I went to go and see Sherlock Gnomes, the sequel to Gnomeo and Juliet, which was this animated film that took Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet and replaced all the characters with garden ornaments. In this sequel, Gnomeo and Juliet are now the leaders of the new garden that all the gnomes have moved to. But this responsibility is very overwhelming for Juliet, and it's affecting her relationship with Gnomeo. One day, all the gnomes disappear. It's a mystery how and why. It's up to the famous detective Sherlock Gnomes and his assistant Watson to work out what has happened. Now, I thought that Gnomeo and Juliet was passable at best. It was just a cutesy, fluffy version of Romeo and Juliet with garden ornaments. That's it. It wasn't bad, but it also wasn't that great. For anyone who wants to know my detailed thoughts on Gnomeo and Juliet, I've actually posted a written review of the film on my official website, Jambareeqi.com, which I've linked in the description box below. So what about Sherlock Gnomes? Well, it's one of the worst British animated films I've ever seen. Yes! It's horrible! I mean, one thing that I did quite like about Gnomeo and Juliet was the romance between the title characters. It wasn't anything special, but it was cute and charming. This movie takes that one thing that was actually endearing about the first film and throws it out the window. Yeah. Gnomeo and Juliet end up bickering, fighting, falling out, then spending the rest of the film apart. Watching Gnomeo and Juliet having petty quarrels and being down each other's throats for most of their screen time together is really grating and comes off as mean-spirited melodrama. Then we have Sherlock Gnomes himself, who is such a terrible character. I hated him. I didn't like spending time with him. There was nothing funny or charming about him. He was rude, selfish, and cold. Yes, the other characters point out what a terrible person he is, but that doesn't suddenly make him likable. It's not like I can say, hey, you know that serial killer over there who's stabbing orphans? He's not a very nice guy, is he? That doesn't suddenly make him endearing, does it? The film also has its own version of the Sherlock Holmes character Moriarty, where he's like some kind of pie mascot. It's really dumb. And basically, if I was to best describe Moriarty in this film, imagine if you took Lego Joker, made him 100 times more annoying and 300 times less funny. There you go. There's your villain for this film. What makes this film incredibly boring is how painfully predictable it is. Anyone could work out where this film is going. We know that Sherlock and Watson's relationship is going to be juxtaposed against Gnomeo and Juliet's, and they're both going to learn the same kinds of lessons. We see it from a mile away. And the movie tries to have this big twist, but anyone and everyone could totally see it coming. And this twist is meant to make us sympathise with this character, but it just ends up revealing that he's a very sociopathic, juvenile, and immature person. The movie barely addresses that he's done terrible things. It just goes, oh yeah, you did bad. Anyway, let's move on. It's irrelevant. And then things just carry on as usual. You do know that characters' actions can really paint a picture of them. This character has done some things that should get him sent to jail. The movie tries to paint his intentions as well-meaning, but they're really not. They're very selfish and sociopathic. I'm all for giving some kind of redemption to a character who's done wrong, but this is not how you go about doing it. You don't immediately go to great lengths to show that they're a warm-hearted, innocent victim in all this. It doesn't matter how many rainbows and marshmallows you try to put all over his crime, he's still a criminal. The movie also has this dumb, overdone romantic subplot between Nanette the Frog and Benny the Gnome, where Benny secretly fancies Nanette, and Nanette thinks that Benny is talking about someone else. You know where he's going to go. And I just don't care. Not just because it's predictable as all hell, but I find Nanette to be really annoying. She's so obnoxious. She seems to think, well, the louder I am, the funnier I am. And the end of the first movie revealed that Benny was quite the impulsive psychopath all along, bordering on being a villain. and I just don't care about this missing gnome mystery. Mainly because I'm not fussed whether these gnomes get found. Most of the supporting characters in this franchise are made up of flat archetypes or obnoxious comic relief. I'm not fussed if they live or die. There's only two things that I liked about this film. There's these pair of gargoyles who serve as the villain's minions. They're kind of entertaining because one's very serious, focused on the job, but the other is very childish, and they have this interesting dynamic. They're the only characters that got one or two laughs out of me. And I did kind of like how, when we went into Sherlock Gnomes' mind to see how his brain ticks, everything turned hand-drawn, and you could see a very fantastical version of his psyche. That was quite clever, very inventive way of depicting a detective's frame of thought. But other than that, this is just a terrible film. Yes, some of the worst parts of the trailer aren't in the movie, yet the film is still awful. Now, I know a lot of people are probably going to say, well, kids might enjoy this film. Yeah, probably, but I don't think that's credit to this movie. I think this is the kind of animated kids movie that they'll watch a couple of times as kids, like it those times, but when they get older, they'll look back and realise, wow, did I really like that? This is not a timeless family film. Folks, I know it's only May, but this movie is a high contender for worst animated film of 2018 to me. I've been Jambareeqi and I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, then feel free to subscribe, because I make a lot of reviews of animated films on this channel. Cheerio, folks.